Peace and blessings. I am listening to Swami Vivekananda discourse, and he just touched on a great topic. I've always been fascinated with the renunciates and these fellows that are up meditating in the caves of the Himalayas, and this happens in other religions as well, or other spiritual endeavors. Like the Jesuits are a certain type of renunciate, if I do say so. They take a vow of poverty and celibacy, and so Swami Vivekananda starts his discourse by talking about like very few people have the capacity to enter into this uh, life of renunciation, this highly spiritual life where the only focus is God, basically. But very few people have the capacity to do that. Or if the heart and your karma wants to be out in the world, creating things, making money, having families, building a house, doing this, doing that, doing all these things. That's what will be in your mind. And while this person is, if they do take a vow of some sort and have renunciate the world and go for pure life of pure spirituality, complete devotion to God or cosmic consciousness or whatever you want to call it, their mind will still be on the things in the world and the worldly endeavors that are in their karma. So he's saying, you know, first go out and do these things, achieve success, whatever that means for you, whatever you're compelled to do, go out and do those things, have a family, make a house, do this, and then after you've accomplished that and you've done that and get it out of your system, then it's time for renunciation, and it's time for uh, complete surrender to the divine and focus on God consciousness. And I think that's huge because like I've seen it in multiple religions where they have this ordained sect, these monks and nuns and so forth, and there's all of this like sexual deviance coming out of his ordained order, where they take a vow of celibacy, but they haven't overcome their desires, and they're not prepared for this vow of celibacy and this vow of poverty. They're not prepared for it, so it's going to come manifested in certain ways, certain bad, unhealthy ways. So might as well go out in the world and explore those things, get it out of your system, and then for the complete serenity and bliss of cosmic consciousness, then you focus on that. It goes in line with a lot of Indian thoughts about the different periods of people's lives. It's expected in Indian culture, certain parts of Indian culture, where they will, in old age, just be complete devotees and immerse themselves in the spiritual practice. Um, they started that discourse talking about the gunas of Tama, Raja, and Sattva. And it's interesting, and I heard about this in the West, I didn't realize it, but it was colored with ideas of the West, Christian colorations on our culture. Christian culture likes to look at things as good and evil, and heaven and hell, uh, and that sort of thing. And so when I was taught about Tama tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic, these gunas in the that are talked about in the Vedas, they in the West they basically said tamasic was evil and sattvic was good. Divine sattvic, all things sattvic are good. You do those things. All things tamasic are bad. You don't do those things. And then rajasic is somewhere in the middle. The rajaguna, it's just somewhere in the middle. They kind of like gloss over that. It's like whatever. But mostly you just want to focus on sattvic. But that's not how Swami Vivekananda talks about it. I mean, of course, I guess you could like smush it into that paradigm, but it's not how he talks about it. The way he talked about it in this discourse is the tamasic is just lack of movement. There's lack of movement. So sloth, sedentary. So things that fall in that category, maybe foods that are considered tamasic, activities that are considered tamasic, lead towards inactivity. That's basically it, just inactivity. And then rajasic is activity. And I understand that because even in the West, they always told me that rajasic was things like coffee. Coffee is like some good, some bad. It's like in the middle. Uh, but anyways, Swami Vivekananda talked about rajasic as being um, activity. So that's that activity out in the world, going out in the world and creating stuff and doing stuff and living this active life of creation that we're given the chance to do. And then sattvic is the balance between the two. Wow, the middle way, the balance between the two, inactivity and activity, in balance, and the serenity and the peace that comes with that. So a very different take on it than I was exposed to in my younger days of learning yogic culture and this Vedic tradition. Um, so yeah, what are your thoughts? Go ahead and leave a comment in the comments about if you know about these gunas, the tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic. What kind of factoids do you know? What's your favorite part about that? What's interesting to you about it? What do you think about life in the world and the life of renunciation and this comparison and uh, my interest is the balance between the two. Try to find it at a relatively young age to be able to balance life in the world and a life of renunciation. Playing in the creative manifested world, and then immersing myself in the devotion to the complete potential energy of the cosmic energy or God. I don't mind using the word God. Some people have a problem with the word God, and I understand it because God is very polarizing. People have a lot of bad connotations with it. Some people connect in modern times. They say, no, God is cosmic consciousness, and people embrace that. But some people will think cosmic consciousness is woo-woo or whatever. I don't know. It's all words. It's all words to describe something that is infinite and ultimately undescribable. To describe it is to get away from the truth of it. You know, it's infinite. How do you com- comprehend or describe infinity? Thanks so much for listening. Peace and blessings. I will talk to you soon.